as it seems. Welcome to Fake Britain. It's just an ordinary house. It could be anywhere in the country, but this is a house that's filled with fakes, and you may not know it, but your home could be full of them too. During the series, we'll be investigating the criminals trying to get their hands on your cash by using forgeries, frauds, and fakery. And I'll be showing you how you can avoid being taken for a ride. On today's show, fake safety labels on the powerful laser pointers that can blind.
It's quite shocking really that a pen with one button can have such an influence on whether somebody lives or dies.
The fraudster who used multiple fake identities to get away with millions.
Maria Michaela is one of the most prolific fakes and fraudsters in the UK.
And the shocking fake dangerous... Here on Fake Britain, we've come across many a faker with a false identity, but the next story demonstrates the extraordinary length some people will go to convince us they're not who they really are. Some people struggle to get on the first rung of the property ladder, but one woman faked her way to a multi-million-pound property empire. Here's what happened when it all came crashing down.
She came into the UK under the name of Bruna Louise, which we believe is her real name. She came in on a student visa in 2001.
She arrived in Britain as a young 20-something to study one thing only: how to fake her way into getting millions of pounds courtesy of some of the biggest high street banks. She began by stealing the identity of an innocent woman named Joanne Sarah Peer.
This is a passport in the name of Joanne Sarah Peer, altered with her photo. It's a fake passport.
Now living as Joanne Sarah Peer, the faker's next step was to concoct a fantasy to make people believe she was a millionaire.
Joanne Sarah Peer used false documents to create a persona of a wealthy South African heiress. And from everybody that we've spoken to who had dealings with her, she was very, very convincing. She arrived in Bentley motor vehicles, wore expensive clothing, was very well spoken and very confident.
On paper, she faked her way into looking wealthy beyond belief.
This is Joanne Sarah Peer's assets and liabilities, showing a net worth of £240 million from assets around the world. UK property portfolio, £100 million, Bentley, BMW, Range Rover, £20 million in cash, all completely fictitious, all completely fake.
The point of all this fakery? Well, to make the banks think she was rich enough already to be a safe bet to lend money to. Joanne Sarah Peer was plotting to turn her fake wealth into real value by borrowing millions to leap up the property ladder in a way most of us could never achieve.
Her method of operation was to approach professional people, solicitors, valuers, mortgage brokers, to put together packages to approach banks, and as such she was very skilled at what she did, very knowledgeable.
But for a fraud like this to be safe as houses, a faker needs a few friends. Enter her partner in crime, property surveyor Mary Jane Rathie. Her job was to massively overvalue the properties that Joanne Sarah Peer wanted to buy. That way, Joanne Sarah Peer could borrow much more than the house was actually worth and pocket the difference. Mary Jane Rathie's house price fakery was rewarded with luxury cars and over £1 million in cash. The next step was charming the money out of senior bankers in person, and that would require Joanne Sarah Peer to don one of her many disguises.
What we have here is a kit used to change her appearance.
She faked her hair colour and style.
One of these wigs is very possibly one of the wigs that she used to create a driver's licence. This is a coloured contact lens used to change a person's eye colour appearance.
She changed her skin colour.
She's gone to the extent of darkening her skin colour using theatrical makeup. We believe that that has been used to create this false Portuguese driving licence.
And she even faked how old she looked.
This is a theatrical makeup labelled as old age stipple for professional use only. It's fascinating the lengths that she went to change her appearance. This isn't a normal makeup kit for somebody going on a night out. She was creating other looks for herself to create false identities, presumably for use to keep herself hidden from the authorities or for furtherance of her various frauds.
For most people, applying for a mortgage is a tricky and stressful business, but Joanne Serapia made it look easy. Having settled on one of her many disguises, she set about making fake mortgage applications and meeting the bankers to persuade them to part with their money. Amazingly, they did.
She's used her fake identity and fake persona to purchase a string of properties and establish a property portfolio of prestigious properties across London.
The faker had gone on a spending spree with millions of pounds of the bank's money. Scott Loughton was involved in unravelling her web of deception. He took us to see some of the London properties that she bought with that cash. First, to a prime property just round the corner from Buckingham Palace, and a house that most people could only ever dream of owning.
This is a traditional Mews property. Joanne Serapia, using her fake identity, convinced the bank to loan her £1.84 million to purchase this property.
Next to swanky Chelsea on the banks of the River Thames, and a townhouse bought with money lent on the basis of a huge fake overvaluation by her partner in crime.
We're standing outside of 107 Cheney Wharf, London. It's a lovely old building. Based on her fake identity, the Bank of Scotland loaned £3.2 million for this property.
Joanne Serapia pocketed millions from these two properties alone. But coming up, we see just how much the faker got away with, and we meet the experts who helped to unmask her and bring her to justice.
The marks and spots are in the same place.
Earlier we saw how the faker calling herself Joanne Serapia conned high street banks out of millions to jump up the property ladder in a way most British homeowners could only dream of. But when she chose yet another false persona, that of Zoe May Fletcher, and tried to get a huge loan from the Royal Bank of Scotland, she'd gone one fake identity too far.
This is a UK passport in the name of Zoe May Fletcher. She used this to approach a bank employee after she'd finished with the Joanne Serapia identity.
What she didn't bargain on was that particular eagle-eyed banker having such a good memory.
The bank employee asked her, "Haven't I seen you somewhere before?" And she said, "No, we've never met in my life." But he was certain that he'd met her 12 months earlier using the name of Joanne Serapia. Very quickly, the bank realised that they had a massive exposure of £2.5 million in loans to Joanne Serapia.
Realising they had a criminal in their midst, the bank called in the City of London police. Together they hatched a plan to capture and arrest Joanne Serapia. The police recorded the phone call between the bank and the faker.
There is a little thawing at credit, and we are open for business and are looking to do the right deals for the right client. Would you mind getting together again at some stage soon?
Absolutely. Should we say Monday? Is Monday any good for you?
Let's say 2 o'clock Monday.
Brilliant.
Excellent. Okie dokie.
But Zoe May Fletcher must have smelled a rat because she went underground. When she finally resurfaced, she was hiding behind yet another fake identity. The City of London police were waiting for her.
When she was arrested, she claimed that her name was actually Maria Michaela.
The woman now calling herself Maria Michaela was taken into custody, and clearly she wasn't happy about it. But if the police were thrown by her multiple identities, nothing could prepare them for what they'd find in her flat.
We found several electronic storage devices, and on these were literally thousands of false documents, false passports, bills, marriage certificates. It was a treasure trove of fake documentation.
Maria Michaela had used no fewer than 12 fake identities and had access to countless more. But how could the police be sure that she was the one person behind these many different faces? Time to call in the specialists. Ken Ling has decades of experience in forensic facial mapping. Using sophisticated computer software, he's helped to lift the mask off many a faker.
It's my job to actually study the images and to see if it was actually the same person or not.
Ken spent days comparing the minute similarities and differences between the fraudster's features in all of her different photos.
This one was particularly difficult because of the headscarf, which changed the appearance, and the hologram image that they got on the passport.
Difficult as it was, Ken knows that it's all in the eyes and the nose.
If we look closely at the eyes, we can see that they have the same shape as the eyes on the control image. The bend in the nose is the same. If we move on to the grid, we find that the images correlate with each other. And as you can see, they do match.
Maria Michaela's mask was starting to slip.
Also, we've got these spots, and we've got the marks and spots in the same place, and the slight bend in the nose. And I ascertained from the examination that she was probably the same person on all of the images.
The net was closing in on the faker, but the police still needed to make sure that the woman they'd arrested was the same woman they'd heard on the phone to the bank. Time to turn to forensic voice analyst Elizabeth McClelland. She's compared the recording of Maria Michaela's voice in custody to the recording of the voice in the phone call to the bank.
This is the waveform of a section of speech from the interview with Maria Michaela.
Been in this country and I've known for a year. This is not right.
This is a representation of the pitch movement of the voice of Maria Michaela.
The intonation of a person's voice is how it rises and falls, and it wasn't long before Elizabeth detected some distinct similarities between the voice from the police interview
I've been arrested over people.
and the voice from the bank call.
Yes, I may have known some people I mentioned to your colleague yesterday.
So here we have in the interview a falling contour that matches very closely with one that you can see in the call, which led me to the conclusion that they were the same person.
The evidence from Ken and Elizabeth helped City of London police to build a case against Maria Michaela, revolving around her multiple identities and multi-million-pound fraud, the true extent of which was now becoming clear.
She managed to swindle HBOS out of £10.5 million and the Royal Bank of Scotland out of £2.5 million, and possibly for other banks out of even more amounts of money.
She had in fact walked away with the sort of money most people will never see in their entire lifetime. A cool £15 million.
How many fake identities did she have? I don't think we'll ever know.
The woman calling herself Maria Michaela finally pleaded guilty to 2 counts of fraud by false representation. She was sentenced to 9 years in prison. Her accomplice, Mary Jane Rathie, was convicted of 5 counts of fraud and 1 count of money laundering. She was given 6 years.
Maria Michaela is one of the most prolific fakes and fraudsters in the UK.